Lyra lived in a home, woven from dreams and willow branches, nestled deep within the Whispering Vale. It was a place where the sunbeams danced through leaves that hummed ancient lullabies, and the very air tasted of wild thyme and starlight. Her grandmother, Elara, had built their cottage with hands that knew the language of growing things, coaxing the willow trees to twist and intertwine into walls and ceilings, their leaves forming a rustling verdant roof that whispered secrets to the wind. Inside, the light was always soft, filtered through panes of polished amber that caught the morning sun and held its warmth long into the twilight hours. Lumina moths, with wings like powdered moonbeams, drifted lazily from ceiling to floor, their gentle glow illuminating shelves laden with strange and beautiful things. Jars of captured mist, smooth river stones that hummed faint melodies, and scrolls tied with ribbons spun from spider silk and dew. Lyra's own small room was a cozy nook where star moss grew on the walls, glowing softly at night, and her bed was piled high with quilts stitched from cloud-spun wool, each patch telling a tiny story in its embroidery. Every morning, Lyra would wake to the scent of Elara's star-dusted bread, baking in the hearth oven, and the distant murmur of the crystal stream that wound its way through the valley. Elara wasn't just a grandmother. She was a keeper of the valley's oldest memories, her hands gnarled like ancient roots, but her touch as light as a falling feather. Her hair, the color of winter snow, was usually braided with sprigs of everbloom, and her eyes, the shade of deep moss, held a knowing twinkle that suggested she understood the secrets of the stones as well as the whispers of the wind. "Morning, little star spinner," Elara would greet Lyra, her voice like the gentle rustle of leaves. "The stream is calling for company today. Perhaps a new melody wants to be sung?" Lyra, with her own hair like spun moonlight and eyes the color of forest pools, would grin, already feeling the gentle tug of the valley's magic. She had a special connection to the living things around her. Flowers seemed to lean towards her when she passed, their petals brightening. Birds would land on her outstretched finger, sharing their morning songs. And sometimes, when she hummed a particular tune, the very air around her would shimmer with tiny, golden motes of light, a phenomenon Elara called heart song magic. Their days were a tapestry of simple, profound enchantments. They would gather dewdrops from spiderwebs to brew tea that tasted of forgotten dreams, or help the lazy sundaisies unfurl their petals with a gentle touch and a whispered word. Elara would teach Lyra the names of the ancient trees, the healing properties of every herb, and the stories hidden in the patterns of the clouds. They would mend torn cloaks with threads spun from moonlight, making them impervious to rain and chill, or coax stubborn seeds to sprout by singing them lullabies. One crisp afternoon, as golden leaves drifted from the ancient whisper willows, blanketing the valley floor in a rustling carpet, Lyra noticed something peculiar. She was sitting by the crystal stream, sketching the iridescent scales of a river sprite that had paused to listen to her humming. As she dipped her hand into the water, she felt a subtle chill, different from the usual refreshing coolness. And the stream's song, usually a joyful, effervescent babble, seemed a little quieter, a little less bright. Later that evening, as Elara braided Lyra's hair by the light of the glowworms, Lyra mentioned it. "Grandmother," she said, her voice soft, "the crystal stream feels different. And its song isn't as merry today." Elara paused, her fingers still in Lyra's hair. Her eyes, usually so bright, held a flicker of concern. "You noticed it too, little one," she murmured, more to herself than to Lyra. Lyra nodded. "And the star moss on my wall, it feels a little less bright tonight, almost as if it's tired." Elara sighed, a sound like dry leaves caught on the wind. She finished the braid, tying it with a sprig of night-blooming jasmine, then led Lyra to the hearth. The fire, usually a lively dance of orange and red, seemed to smolder with a fainter glow, its warmth not quite reaching the corners of the room. "Come, little heart song," Elara said, her voice hushed. "Let grandmother tell you a story, one not found in the usual star charts but woven into the very fabric of Eridir itself." Lyra snuggled into Elara's lap, her heart a little fluttery with a sense of unease. Elara rarely spoke in such solemn tones. "Long, long ago," Elara began, her voice a low murmur that seemed to draw the very shadows closer, "before the first whisper willow grew, before the star-kissed peaks touched the clouds, Eridir was a land of pure, unbounded magic. Its heart, the true heart of our world, pulsed with a light so brilliant, a warmth so profound that every living thing shimmered with joy. It was a heart of pure starlight woven with dreams and rice and... Lyra imagined a vast glowing jewel deep within the earth, radiating warmth. But then, Elara continued, her voice growing softer, a great sorrow fell upon Eridor. It wasn't a single event but a slow creeping sadness, a collective grief that settled like a heavy shroud. The people of Eridor, in their growing despair, began to forget the songs of the stars, to ignore the whispers of the wind, to lose their connection to the vibrant heart that sustained them. As their hearts grew colder, so too did the heart of Eridor. Elara paused, gazing into the fading embers of the fire. It crystallized, little one. The vibrant living heart, once a beacon of pure light, slowly transformed. It became hard, unyielding, and dark. It became the Obsidian heart. Lyra gasped softly. The name alone sent a shiver down her spine. An Obsidian heart. It's so decent, indeed. It sounded so cold, so lonely. Once it had fully transformed, Elara went on, her gaze returning to Lyra's face. Its warmth was trapped, its light hidden. The wise ones of that age, seeing what had happened, knew that such a powerful thing, if left unchecked, could drain all warmth and light from Eridor. So, with ancient and solemn magic, they hid it away. They wove intricate spells of concealment and placed guardians along its path, not to protect Eridor from harm, but to protect Eridor from... What happened after that? Lyra whispered, mesmerized. Eridor survived, Elara said, a faint smile touching her lips. The world adapted. The sun still rose, the moon still shone, and life found a way to thrive, albeit with a little less magic, a little less warmth than before. The memory of the Obsidian heart faded into legend, becoming a bedtime story for children, a myth for scholars. But the truth, little one, is that the Obsidian heart still sleeps, and its slumber is growing deeper. Elara gently touched Lyra's cheek. Oh, unwind you are, me, uncanny, the fading light of your star moss, the quiet song of the crystal stream, the subtle chill you feel. These are not just small things, Lyra. These are whispers from Eridor itself. The stars, which draw their brilliance from the heart, are dimming. The very magic that binds our world together is beginning to unravel, thread by thread. If the Obsidian heart sleeps too long, if its warmth is never rekindled, then one day all the light in Eridor... Lyra felt a prickle of fear, cold and sharp, unlike any she had known. The thought of a world without starlight, without the warmth of the sun, without the song of the stream, was unbearable. But how do we wake it, grandmother? How can anyone wake a heart of obsidian? Elara's eyes held a deep ancient sadness but also a spark of hope. The legends say that only a heart of pure starlight, one untainted by the sorrows of the world, can reawaken the obsidian heart. A heart that remembers the songs of the stars, that understands the whispers of the wind, that feels the pulse of Eridor within its own beats. A heart like yours, Lyra. Lyra's breath caught in her throat. Her? A young girl, barely old enough to master the simplest of Elara's everyday enchantments. But I don't know how. I don't even know where the obsidian heart is hidden. Elara smiled, a gentle, knowing smile that eased some of Lyra's fear. No one knows exactly, little one. Its hiding place is shrouded in ancient wards and forgotten paths. But the magic that hid it away also left clues, for those who know how to read them, and its current weakening is causing those old wards to flicker, revealing faint trails for those with eyes keen enough to see. She reached for a small, leather-bound book from a nearby shelf, its cover etched with swirling constellations. It looked ancient, its pages brittle and yellowed. This belonged to your great-great-grandmother, Elara explained, tracing a finger over a faded glyph. She was a renowned star reader, and she left behind many secrets. I've always thought this one was merely a fanciful story, but now I believe it holds the very first clue to the heart's awakening. Elara opened the book carefully, revealing a page filled with intricate drawings of stars and constellations, interspersed with cryptic symbols and delicate script. Her finger stopped at a particular drawing, a cluster of stars Lyra recognized as the Weeping Sisters, a constellation that brought gentle rains to the valley. Beneath it was a tiny, almost invisible etching of a flowing stream, and a verse written in a language Lyra didn't understand, but which seemed to hum with a faint, familiar energy. "This speaks of the echoing stream," Ilara translated softly, her voice reverent. "A place where the first guardian sleeps, a spirit bound to the heart's slumber. It says, where the weeping sisters weep their tears, a path begins beyond the fears. Seek the echoing stream's soft song, where ancient whispers linger long." Lyra stared at the page, her mind racing. The echoing stream. She knew of a stream, high up in the foothills of the star-kissed peaks, that was said to carry echoes of ancient melodies on its currents. She had always thought it was just a local legend. Could it be the same one? Anaya. Could the first step to finding the Obsidian Heart truly be so close, yet so unknown? A thrill, a mixture of fear and excitement, surged through Lyra. The weight of Ilara's words, the fading light of the world, rested heavily on her young shoulders. But within that weight, a spark ignited. She remembered the feeling of her heart-song magic, the way flowers brightened at her touch, the birds that sang to her. Perhaps, just perhaps, Ilara was right. Perhaps her heart was different. She looked up at her grandmother, her eyes wide with a newfound determination. "The echoing stream," she repeated, the words feeling powerful and real on her tongue. "I'll go, grandmother. I'll find it." Ilara smiled, a gentle, knowing warmth radiating from her. "Tomorrow, little one, the path to the Obsidian Heart is long and filled with wonders, but also with challenges. You will need a stout heart and a clear mind, and a little something to guide your way." Ilara reached into a small pouch hanging from her belt and pulled out a single perfectly smooth riverstone, no bigger than Lyra's thumb. It glowed with a faint, internal light, like a captured firefly. "This is a waystone," Ilara explained. "It holds a fragment of the crystal stream's own magic. When you are lost, or when the path ahead is unclear, hold it close. Its light will always point you towards the purest source of magic nearby, guiding you true." Lyra took the waystone, its cool, smooth surface warming instantly in her palm. It pulsed gently, a tiny heartbeat of light. The thought of leaving the Whispering Vale, of venturing into the wider world beyond their familiar home, was daunting. But the image of the fading stars, the chilling silence of the stream, and the burden of the sleeping Obsidian Heart spurred her on. She had to try. For Eridor. For Ilara. For all the magic that might be lost. As she drifted to sleep that night, the waystone clutched in her hand, Lyra dreamed of ancient rivers singing lost songs and stars that pulsed with a desperate fading light. She dreamed of an obsidian heart, cold and dark, waiting for someone to find it, to sing it awake with a melody born of pure starlight. And somewhere in her dream, a faint golden path began to shimmer, leading towards the distant, echoing sound of a hidden stream. Lyra awoke to the gentle caress of dawn, a pearly light filtering through the leaves above her makeshift camp. The dream, usually a fleeting wisp upon waking, clung to her mind with the tenacity of morning dew, its images as vivid as the forest around her. She could still feel the phantom hum of ancient rivers, the desperate thrum of fading stars, and the chilling cold of that obsidian heart. But most powerfully, she remembered the shimmering golden path, a beacon in the dreamscape, leading towards the echoing sound of a hidden stream. Her hand, still curled around the waystone, felt a gentle pulse, warm and insistent. It wasn't just a stone, it was a living guide, a shard of Eridor's own essence. As Lyra opened her palm, the waystone glowed with a soft inner light, mirroring the golden path of her dream. It wasn't pointing in any specific direction yet, but its warmth spread through her, a comforting presence that dispelled the lingering chill of the obsidian heart. She sat up, stretching muscles stiff from sleep, and surveyed her surroundings. She was in a small, secluded glade, ringed by ancient oaks whose branches intertwined like the fingers of sleeping giants. The air was cool and crisp, carrying the scent of damp earth and pine needles. Yet even here, in this seemingly untouched sanctuary, Lyra sensed it, the subtle, insidious drain of magic from the world. The morning mist, though beautiful, lacked the usual shimmering luminescence she remembered from her childhood tales. The bird song, while sweet, felt muted, as if holding back a part of its melody. It was the silence the dream had spoken of, the quiet where there should be song. Eridor was losing its voice, and Ilara, her mentor, had tasked Lyra with finding its lost song. The waystone pulsed again, stronger this time, a gentle pull towards the east, deeper into the ancient forest known as the Whisperwood. Lyra knew with uncertainty that resonated deep in her bones, that the dream was not just a dream. It was a vision, a map woven from starlight and ancient memory, guiding her to the very heart of the fading magic. The hidden stream, the obsidian heart, the starlight melody, they were all pieces of a puzzle she had to solve, a song she had to relearn, note by precious note. She packed her meager belongings, a small leather satchel containing dried fruit, a flask of water, a length of sturdy rope, and a worn journal where Ilara had penned cryptic notes about Eridir's magic. With the waystone cradled in her palm, Lyra rose and stepped into the deeper shadows of the Whisperwood. The trees here were truly ancient, their bark grooved with centuries of stories, their canopies so dense that only slivers of sunlight pierced through, dappling the forest floor in shifting patterns of light and shadow. The air grew cooler, imbued with a sense of profound age and quietude. Lyra noticed the subtle differences immediately. Moss on the stones, though green, lacked a vibrant, almost luminous quality she remembered from Ilara's descriptions. Streams trickled silently over smooth stones, their waters clear but devoid of the playful shimmer, the tiny dancing motes of light that once accompanied them. It was as if the very joy of the world was slowly dimming. The waystone continued to hum, a low, persistent vibration that guided her. It didn't point to a clear path, for there was none, but rather pulled her in a general direction, a magnetic north of magic. As she walked, Lyra began to perceive faint, ethereal traces in the air, shimmering threads of light, barely visible, that stretched between ancient trees and across hidden clearings. It was the golden path, manifesting itself in reality, a shimmering, almost invisible guide for those with eyes to see. Hours passed in quiet trekking. Lyra moved with the practiced stealth of someone who had spent her life among the trees, her footsteps soft upon the carpet of fallen leaves. The forest grew quieter still, the usual chirping of forest birds replaced by a profound, almost reverent hush. Then she saw it. Nestled between the gnarled roots of a colossal oak, a patch of moss glowed with a faint, otherworldly luminescence, brighter than any Lyra had seen before. It wasn't a strong light, but a soft, steady pulse, like a tiny heart beating in the gloom. As she knelt, the waystone in her hand pulsed in response, its light momentarily flaring. Lyra reached out, her fingers hovering over the glowing moss. A delicate crystalline flower bloomed nearby, its petals like spun glass, emitting a note so faint it was more a feeling than a sound, a deep, resonant hum, a single, pure tone. It was a fragment of a song, a whisper of the starlight melody. Lyra felt a surge of wonder, a fragile hope blossoming within her. This was it. These tiny, shimmering clues were the breadcrumbs on the golden path. She carefully touched the crystalline flower, and its faint hum seemed to deepen, reverberating in her chest. The waystone, now warm against her skin, nudged her forward, deeper still. The whispers began then, not words, but a sorrowful ancient song carried on the wind. It was the sound of the lost songs from her dream, a mournful melody that spoke of longing and memory. It seemed to emanate from the very heart of the Whisperwood, growing stronger with every step she took. The golden path, though still subtle, became more distinct, weaving through the undergrowth like a luminous thread. Finally, Lyra emerged into a small circular clearing. In its center stood a single colossal tree, unlike any she had ever seen. It was a weeping willow, but of impossible size, its trunk as wide as a small cottage, its branches trailing downwards, brushing the earth, forming a shimmering emerald curtain around its core. Its bark, a silvery gray, seemed to weep with silent tears, and from its leaves a faint golden light pulsed, matching the glow of the waystone. This was the source of the mournful song, the Whispering Willow. As Lyra approached, the air around the willow grew dense with magic, a palpable hum that vibrated through her bones. The waystone thrummed in her hand, almost vibrating free. She pushed aside a curtain of the willow's shimmering leaves and stepped into the hollow within its trunk. Inside, the light was ethereal, cast by countless tiny, glowing motes of dust that danced in the air. The space was vast, like a small circular chamber, its walls smooth and cool to the touch. In the very center, a pool of water, still and dark, reflected the dancing lights above. And from the shadows, a voice, soft and ancient, like the rustling of leaves in a forgotten breeze, greeted her. "Welcome, child of Eredor," the voice whispered, seeming to emanate from the very wood of the tree. It was a voice that held the weight of centuries, the sorrow of fading light, and the enduring strength of the earth. "I have awaited your coming. The waystone sings of your purpose." Lyra, though startled, felt no fear. This presence was old, but kind. "You are the Whispering Willow?" she asked, her voice a hushed whisper in return. "I am a guardian of this place, and a keeper of its memories," the willow replied. "My roots remember when Eredor sang with 1,000 voices, when starlight flowed like rivers, and the obsidian heart was but a stone of potential, not a shroud of silence." Lyra's breath caught. "The obsidian heart? You know of it?" "I know of its shadow," the willow responded, a ripple passing through its leaves, creating a soft sigh. "It is not a thing born of malice, but of imbalance. When the harmony of Eredor began to wane, when the lifeblood of starlight faded, a deep silence grew. The obsidian heart is that silence made manifest, a void that draws away magic, absorbing light and song until only stillness remains." "And the starlight melody?" Lyra pressed, her heart quickening. "My dream showed me a hidden stream where the melody might be found." "Indeed," the willow murmured. "The hidden stream is a vein of pure starlight, a place where Eredor's song still flows, untouched by the encroaching silence. It is one of the last places where the starlight melody is sung, not by voice, but by its very essence. To awaken the obsidian heart, to make it sing again, you must gather the lost notes of that melody, piece by precious piece." "The hidden stream holds the first clear note. How do I find it? Will you know me?" Lyra asked, her gaze sweeping around the hollow, searching for a hidden exit. "The stream is not merely hidden from sight, child. It is hidden from those who do not truly listen," the willow explained. "The shadow of the obsidian heart has woven illusions and silence around it, to keep its light from reaching the world. Only those whose hearts beat in rhythm with Eredor's fading song, and whose minds are open to the ancient whispers, can find the true path." The willow's branches rustled, and a single luminous seed, smaller than Lyra's thumbnail, drifted down into her outstretched hand. It glowed with a soft inner light, pulsing gently. "This is a seed of starlight. It will not break the illusions, but it will show you the truth beneath them. It will resonate with the true notes of the starlight melody, and when you are near the stream, it will bloom with the first clear sound. But beware, the path is guarded not just by illusions, but by the echoes of forgotten sorrow. You must walk with an open heart, and let empathy be your guide." "And let empathy be your guide." "Thank you," Lyra whispered, cradling the seed of starlight carefully. It felt warm and vibrant in her palm, a tiny beacon of hope. "The entrance to the stream's true path lies beyond a curtain of shimmering mist, not far from here," the willow directed, its voice growing fainter. "But you must listen with more than your ears, and see with more than your eyes. The path demands a song, Lyra, a song of pure intention." With a final gentle sigh, the whispering willow fell silent, its leaves continuing their mournful shimmering dance. Lyra clutched the waystone and the seed of starlight. She knew the task ahead wouldn't be easy. The mention of forgotten sorrow and echoes sent a shiver down her spine, but the hope that bloomed from the willow's words far outweighed any fear. She stepped back out into the whisperwood, the golden path now more vibrant, a shimmering thread leading her away from the willow and deeper into the forest's heart. The path led her to a small enclosed clearing where a perpetual shimmering mist hung heavy, obscuring everything beyond it. It was thick, almost tangible, and felt cold to the touch. This was the illusion the willow spoke of. Lyra took a deep breath, focusing on the seed of starlight in her hand. It pulsed gently but didn't bloom. The waystone, however, began to hum with a clearer, more insistent rhythm. Lyra closed her eyes, trying to listen with her heart as the willow had advised. She focused on the faint echoing sound of the hidden stream from her dream, on the mournful song of the willow, on the almost imperceptible hum of the crystalline flower. She remembered Ilara's lessons. Magic wasn't about grand gestures but about connection, about understanding the world's hidden language. "Empathy," the willow had said. Lyra thought of Eridor, of its fading light, of Ilara, and the love she held for this world. She thought of the beauty that would be lost if the magic truly died. As she opened her eyes, she began to hum softly, a melody born of her own longing, a simple wordless tune that echoed the sorrowful song of the willow, yet held a spark of hope within it. As her voice resonated, the seed of starlight in her hand began to glow more brightly, and the waystone pulsed in perfect synchronicity. The mist before her, which had seemed so solid, began to shimmer and swirl, not dispersing, but revealing something beneath its veil. It was like looking through a rippling sheet of water. The golden path, which had ended abruptly at the edge of the mist, now continued, shimmering softly into the depths of the illusion. Lyra took a tentative step forward. The mist parted around her, revealing a narrow, winding tunnel, carved seemingly from the very earth, its walls smooth and damp. The golden path continued along its floor, a luminous guide in the dimness. The air here was cool, and carried the scent of wet stone and something else, something clean and sparkling, the promise of pure water. The tunnel twisted and turned, descending slowly. It was a long walk, and the silence here was profound, save for the soft scuff of her boots and the steady thrum of the waystone. The seed of starlight glowed steadily, its light growing warmer. Lyra felt a growing sense of anticipation, a tingling awareness in her fingertips. Finally, the tunnel opened up into a vast, breathtaking grotto. Lyra gasped. This was no ordinary cave. The ceiling arched high above, studded with countless crystals that shimmered with an inner light, like a subterranean sky filled with tiny stars. And below, winding through the grotto, was the hidden stream. It didn't just flow, it wowed. The water itself was luminous, a vibrant ethereal blue, like liquid starlight. It wound its way through crystalline formations that pulsed with soft rhythmic light, creating a breathtaking symphony of light and shadow. The air was vibrant, not with sound, but with a palpable hum, a silent song that resonated deep within Lyra's chest. It was the starlight melody, the first clear notes of it, not yet a full song, but a pure, undeniable vibration of magic. The waystone in Lyra's hand flared, its light mingling with the blue glow of the stream, and the seed of starlight, held aloft, burst open. It didn't bloom into a flower, but released a single, perfectly clear note of sound, a resonant chime that echoed through the grotto, pure and bright. This was it. This was the first note of the starlight melody, not just sensed, but heard. As the chime faded, the stream's luminous waters swirled, and from its depths, a single crystalline shard rose, sparkling like a captured star. It drifted gently towards Lyra, settling into her open palm. It was cool to the touch, and within its depths, she could see a tiny swirling vortex of blue light, pulsing with the same pure note that had just sounded. This was the first fragment of the starlight melody, a physical embodiment of its music. Holding the fragment, Lyra felt a surge of exhilaration, a profound sense of connection to Eridor's deepest magic. The grotto hummed around her, the air thick with hope. The waystone, now brilliantly lit, pulsed with a new direction, a path forward that shimmered faintly on the crystalline walls of the grotto, leading out of the hidden stream. This was only the beginning. The obsidian heart still lay in silence, and the full starlight melody was yet to be found. But Lyra had found the first note, the first step on a long magical journey. She had listened with her heart, and Eridor had answered. Clutching the glowing fragment, she looked towards the shimmering path, ready for whatever lay beyond. The shimmering path was not a solid bridge, but a tunnel woven from pure liquid light. It hummed with a soft resonant warmth against Lyra's bare feet, a gentle vibration that traveled up her legs and settled in her chest. Each step she took seemed to ripple the iridescent surface, sending out tiny, starry motes that danced and dissolved. The air within was sweet and clean, carrying the faintest scent of moss and distant, unseen flowers. The passage twisted, spiraled, and ascended, a silent, luminous corkscrew rising from the grotto's hidden depths. Lyra clutched the glowing fragment, its light a steady pulse in her palm, mirroring the path's silent song. It felt like a small, warm heart, beating within her own. As she climbed, the familiar dampness of the grotto slowly receded, replaced by a growing freshness, a subtle coolness that hinted at open air and higher altitudes. The light around her shifted, from the deep, sapphire glow of the stream, to softer, pearlescent hues, then to a spectrum of faint pastels. Rose, lavender, palest gold, as if passing through a cosmic prism. Finally, after what felt like both an eternity and a mere breath, the tunnel widened. The light intensified, then dissolved entirely, spilling Lyra out onto a broad, crystalline ledge. She gasped, not from exertion but from sheer wonder. Above her, the sky was a canvas of impossible indigo, so deep it verged on black, yet shot through with swirling nebulae of soft violet and emerald. Stars, larger and more numerous than any she had ever seen, glittered like scattered diamonds close enough it seemed to touch. They pulsed with a gentle inner light, casting long ethereal shadows across the landscape. She stood on what appeared to be a mountain peak, but unlike any earthly mountain. Its slopes were not rough rock, but vast, gleaming plains of obsidian that caught and reflected every spark of starlight. Ancient gnarled trees, their bark like polished amethyst, grew in gravity-defying angles from the sheer faces, their leaves a dark, velvety green that shimmered silver at the edges. Strange, luminous flora bloomed in crevices, emitting soft, bioluminescent glows, flowers like spun glass, ferns that unfurled in spirals of pale blue light, and clusters of glowing berries that resembled tiny, captured constellations. This was the Whispering Peaks, a realm where the very air seemed alive with hushed secrets. A constant gentle wind sighed through the obsidian trees, carrying with it a chorus of faint, unidentifiable sounds, a distant, bell-like chime, a soft, reedy whistle, a whisper that might have been words, or merely the breath of the world itself. The fragment in Lyra's hand glowed with renewed vigor, pulling her gaze towards the highest peak, a spire of pure crystalline quartz that pierced the starry sky like a needle. It hummed with a low, almost imperceptible vibration, a silent summons. Taking a deep breath, Lyra began to walk, her steps light and careful on the slick, dark stone. The path here was less defined, more a series of natural ledges and winding trails, subtly illuminated by the ambient starlight and the glow of the strange plants. The air was thin and crisp, invigorating her lungs, and she felt a thrilling sense of anticipation mixed with a prickle of awe. As she drew closer to the crystalline spire, the whispers on the wind grew clearer, more distinct. It wasn't just the wind. There were voices, though not human ones. They sounded like laughter, like sighs, like tiny musical exclamations, all carried on the currents of the high mountain air. Suddenly, a dart of bright, shimmering light zipped past her ear, so close she felt a puff of cool air. It spun in a tight circle, then zipped back, hovering just beyond her reach. It was no bigger than her thumb, made of swirling mist and starlight, with tiny iridescent wings that beat with dizzying speed. It had two large, curious eyes that glowed with an inner, mischievous light, and a perpetually smiling mouth. "Well, well, well," a tiny bell-like voice tinkled, clear as a drop of dew. "What's this? A star-seeker in our peaks, and with a piece of the great song already in hand." The little creature zipped closer, circling Lyra's face, its tiny movements creating miniature eddies in the air. Lyra instinctively held up the glowing fragment. "Are you a sprite?" Lyra asked, her voice a soft murmur in the vast silence of the peaks. "A cloud sprite, thank you very much," it chirped, landing on the tip of her outstretched finger, its weight no more than a dewdrop. "And my name is Pip. What brings a ground dweller like you to the high reaches? Few come here unless they're lost or searching." Pip's glowing eyes narrowed playfully as they fixed on the fragment. "I'm searching for the starlight melody," Lyra explained, feeling a strange comfort in sharing her quest with the tiny, shimmering being. "To awaken the obsidian heart." Pip gasped, a sound like a flurry of tiny chimes. "The heart? Oh, that's a very big search indeed. The song has been scattered for ages, lost to the echoes of time, but you have a note, the first note, I believe. Yes, yes, the shimmer is unmistakable." Pip danced on Lyra's finger, sending off tiny sparks of light. "The song is indeed broken here, in these very peaks. Our mountain, Mount Crystalline, used to sing with the stars. But a long, long time ago, a great sorrow befell it, and part of its voice was silenced, fractured into a discordant echo." Pip fluttered off Lyra's finger, gesturing with a tiny, translucent arm towards the crystalline spire. "The second note, I believe, is trapped within that echo. It lies beyond the chasm of whispers where the mountain's sorrow still hums. The chasm of whispers, Lyra repeated, looking towards the spire. It seemed impossibly tall, its facets catching and scattering the starlight. Follow me, Pip chirped, zipping ahead. But be warned, the path is tricky. The echo itself can be disorienting. It confuses the ear, muddles the mind. Only a truly clear heart can perceive the true sound within. Lyra followed, her gaze fixed on the tiny glowing sprite. Pip led her higher, along narrower ledges, past waterfalls of shimmering stardust that cascaded down the mountain face. The air grew colder, and the whispers of the wind intensified, no longer just gentle sighs but a complex tapestry of sounds. Mournful hums, sharp cries, and the unsettling low thrum that Pip had called the discordant echo. It was a sound that seemed to sink into Lyra's bones, making her teeth ache and her head feel strangely heavy. As they rounded a final bend, the path opened onto a wide, flat platform of polished obsidian. Before them yawned an enormous chasm, splitting the heart of Mount Crystalline. It was impossibly deep, its bottom lost in shadows so profound they seemed to absorb the very starlight. From its depths rose the unsettling hum, a powerful, pervasive drone that vibrated through the air and the very ground beneath Lyra's feet. It was not a single note, but a chaotic blend of frequencies, like 1,000 instruments playing slightly out of tune, yet all held together by a powerful, melancholic core. "This is it," Pip whispered, hovering nervously at Lyra's shoulder, its usual mischievous twinkle dimmed by the chasm's oppressive presence. "The echoing chasm, the song of the mountain is broken here. The second note is trapped, unable to rise above this sorrowful sound." Lyra felt the fragment in her hand pulse with a faint urgency, a soft counter-rhythm to the chasm's drone. She closed her eyes, trying to listen, truly listen, as Eridor had taught her. The discordant hum filled her ears, a wall of unpleasant sound. But beneath it, deep, deep down, she thought she could detect a faint, pure tone, a whisper of clarity struggling to be heard. "How do I retune it?" she asked Pip, opening her eyes. Pip wrung its tiny, misty hands. "No one has ever tried. The old legends say that only a voice of pure intent, guided by starlight, can untangle the echo. You must sing, Lyra. You must find the missing harmonic frequency within the discord and sing it forth. It is the only way to release the note." Lyra's heart hammered. Sing? Yes. Her voice, against this mighty ancient sorrow? She was no singer, not truly. She sang lullabies to herself sometimes or hummed along with the wind, but to confront this colossal, magical disharmony with her own voice seemed an impossible task. "I don't know if I can," she admitted, her voice small. "But you have the first note," Pip insisted, darting closer and nudging the glowing fragment. "It is a piece of the song itself. Let it guide you. Listen to the fragment, Lyra. Listen to Eridor, and then listen to the chasm. The answer is hidden within." Lyra took a shaky breath. She held the fragment aloft, its light illuminating her face. She closed her eyes again, letting the fragment's gentle thrum resonate through her. She pushed past the surface noise of the chasm, diving deeper into the labyrinth of sound. The discordant hum felt like a tangled knot, 1,000 threads intertwined. But the fragment pulsed, gently, insistently, guiding her ear. Listen not to the whole, but to the spaces between. Eridor's unseen whisper seemed to echo in her mind. Yek the silence within the noise, the truth within the sorrow. She focused, not on the chaos, but on that faint pure tone she had glimpsed earlier. It was like a tiny, unwavering star hidden behind a storm cloud. She hummed softly, tentatively, trying to match its frequency. The chasm's drone seemed to push back, a wave of resistance. Her hum faltered, her voice cracking. "No, not quite," Pip chirped, hovering near her ear. "It's too low, Lyra, and a little too sharp. Imagine the starlight. Imagine its clarity." Lyra tried again, concentrating harder. She pictured the starlight she held, the pure, unblemished light of the fragment. She tried to imbue her voice with that same clarity, that same unwavering truth. She felt a subtle shift in the fragment's glow, a slight warming in her palm, as if it was lending her strength, lending her its own frequency. She took a deeper breath, letting the starlight fill her. She opened her mouth, and this time a stronger, clearer note emerged. It was still hesitant, still fragile, but it carried a resonance that was distinctly different from the chasm's drone. It was a note of pure, soaring hope, a tiny thread of light woven into the fabric of sorrow. The chasm's hum seemed to waver, just for an instant. It was like a giant beast pausing, surprised by a new sound. Lyra felt a surge of courage. She continued to sing, letting the note grow stronger, clearer, more confident. She didn't just sing at the chasm. She sang into it, seeking to merge her voice with its ancient song, not to overpower, but to harmonize. She imagined the starlight flowing from the fragment, through her arm, into her chest, and out with her voice. The air around her began to shimmer faintly, echoing the light of the fragment. Pip, wide-eyed, watched intently, occasionally zipping forward to release a tiny burst of starlight, like a conductor's baton, guiding Lyra's pitch. "Higher, Lyra, a little higher, feel the lift, the ascension," Pip urged. Lyra reached, stretching her voice, not forcing it, but letting it rise naturally, guided by the fragment's hum and Pip's tiny, sparkling prompts. She felt her chest vibrate, not unpleasantly, but with a deep, resonant hum that mirrored the pure note she was seeking. The chaotic drone of the chasm began to separate, to unravel. Like tangled threads being carefully picked apart, individual notes began to emerge from the discord, some mournful, some sharp, but now a new, clear tone was rising above them all. This was the second note. She felt it, she heard it. It was a note of crystalline clarity, like a single perfect drop of dew reflecting the entire sky. It was a sound of gentle longing, of quiet resilience. Lyra poured all her heart into her voice, allowing it to entwine with this newly revealed note. The discordant echo began to subside, transforming. The mournful hum softened, the sharp cries mellowed, and the chaotic blend resolved into a rising, beautiful chord. The chasm itself seemed to sigh, a deep, resonant sound that was no longer sorrowful, but profoundly peaceful. As the harmony filled the air, the crystalline spire above them began to glow with an ethereal light, pulsating in time with Lyra's song. From the depths of the now singing chasm, a delicate, almost invisible shimmer began to rise. It was a fragment of starlight, just like the first, but shaped differently. Slender and elegant, like a sliver of the moon's crescent. It spiraled upwards, catching the ambient starlight, gleaming with a soft, silver-blue luminescence. It floated directly towards Lyra, drawn by the pure, sustained note of her voice. She held out her hand, still singing, and the second fragment settled gently beside the first in her palm. The two fragments pulsed together, a duet of starlight, their combined light brighter than either had been alone. Lyra felt a profound sense of accomplishment, a warmth spreading through her chest that had nothing to do with the physical fragments and everything to do with the melody she had helped restore. The once discordant chasm now sang with a gentle, harmonious hum, a lullaby to the stars. The whispering peaks, once shadowed by sorrow, seemed to regain a measure of their former brilliance, the obsidian trees shimmering with renewed vigor, the luminous flowers glowing with deeper hues. Pip danced around Lyra's head, chiming with delight. "You did it, Lyra. You untangled the sorrow. The song rises again." Lyra smiled, a genuine radiant smile that reached her eyes. The fragments in her hand hummed, a gentle, reassuring presence. She had found the second note. The journey was far from over, but another piece of the starlight melody was hers. Pip landed on her shoulder, still brimming with joyful energy. "Now that the chasm sings, new pathways open. The next note, I believe, is whispered in the sunken star gardens, far beneath the great glass lake. But that's a journey for another day, isn't it?" Pip winked, its tiny glowing eyes twinkling. "First, you should rest. The mountain's song will guide you to a place of peace." Lyra looked down at the two glowing fragments in her hand, then across the vast, star-dusted landscape of the Whispering Peaks. The path ahead was still unknown, but with each note she found, the world seemed to reveal more of its wonder, and her heart felt more connected to its magic. She was ready. The sunken star gardens awaited. The mountain's song, a melody only Lyra could truly hear, a gentle hum resonating from the very core of the earth, lulled her into a restorative slumber. She found a sheltered nook amongst rocks warmed by the last echoes of a distant sun, nestled against a patch of soft moss that seemed to glow faintly, like forgotten embers. Pip, a tiny beacon of comfort, curled up on her shoulder, its light a steady reassuring pulse against her cheek. Dreamless, peaceful sleep claimed her, weaving new strength into her spirit, preparing her for the journey ahead. When Lyra awoke, the sky was still a deep, velvety indigo, but the first blush of dawn was painting the eastern horizon in hues of rose and lavender. The air was crisp and sweet, carrying the scent of pine and distant, dew-kissed blossoms. The two fragments in her hand, which she had clutched even in sleep, pulsed with a renewed, gentle light, mirroring the sunrise. Pip stretched, a tiny flicker of light, and then zipped around her head, its glow brightening, pulling her gaze towards a faint, almost invisible pathway winding downwards from the peaks. "The mountain sings a new verse," Pip chirped, its voice a chime of delight. "And it calls us down, Lyra, down to where the roots of the stars meet the heart of the world." Lyra rose, feeling a lightness in her step she hadn't known before. The mountain's song, now clearer, seemed to vibrate not just in her ears, but in her very bones, a sympathetic resonance that guided her every move. The path, once obscure, now shimmered faintly, a trail of stardust leading into the descending mist. They walked for what felt like hours, the landscape slowly transforming. The stark, rocky slopes of the Whispering Peaks gave way to ancient, gnarled trees whose branches were draped with luminous moss, glowing like tiny emerald lanterns. "This was the Whispering Woods," Pip explained, a place where the mountain's secrets were guarded by patient, silent sentinels. The trees themselves seemed to hum with a low, resonant energy, their roots delving deeper even than the path Lyra trod. As they ventured deeper, the light from the sky grew dimmer, filtered by the thick canopy above, but the woods themselves provided their own illumination. Bioluminescent fungi carpeted the forest floor, casting a soft ethereal glow. Strange, gentle creatures with eyes like polished amber appeared from behind ancient trunks, their presence calm and curious. Lyra felt no fear, only a profound sense of wonder. Every rustle of leaves, every distant hoot of an unseen bird, seemed part of the mountain's grand symphony. It was within these woods that Lyra found her third fragment. It wasn't hidden in a conventional sense, but nestled in the hollow of an enormous ancient tree, its bark swirling with patterns that seemed to mimic the night sky. The fragment pulsed with a soft, steady rhythm, like a sleeping heart. As Lyra reached for it, a shower of luminescent dust fell from the branches above, coating her hands and hair in sparkling motes. When her fingers closed around the fragment, a new note joined the mountain's song within her, a deep, resonant cello-like hum that vibrated through the earth beneath her feet. "3 notes," Pip announced, circling the new fragment with an excited dance of light. "The melody grows, Lyra. Can you feel it? The mountain is waking." The descent continued, the air growing progressively warmer and more humid, carrying the scent of damp earth and exotic, unseen flowers. The trees gradually thinned, giving way to a new landscape, the Starlight River. It wasn't a river of water, at least not in the way Lyra knew it. This river flowed with liquid starlight, a shimmering, iridescent current that wound its way through a vast, subterranean cavern. The cavern ceiling was so high it was lost in shadow, but the river itself cast enough light to illuminate the strange beauty of their surroundings. Crystal formations, towering and intricate, grew from the cavern floor and hung from the ceiling, catching the river's light and refracting it into a dazzling display of colors. "The Starlight River," Lyra whispered, mesmerized. The river's surface was a mirror, reflecting not the cavern's ceiling, but a perfect star-filled night sky, as if a piece of the cosmos had fallen and been captured here. "It flows from the heart of the sunken star gardens," Pip explained, its light shimmering in excitement, "carrying the echoes of the stars that bloom there. But to reach the gardens, we must follow its current, Lyra. It knows the way." There was no visible bridge, no boat. Lyra looked at Pip, then back at the shimmering river. How were they to cross? As if in answer, a cluster of enormous lily-pad-like leaves, each glowing with its own soft internal light, drifted towards the bank where they stood. They were large enough to easily support Lyra's weight, their surfaces soft and yielding. Carefully, Lyra stepped onto one, testing its stability. It held firm, gently bobbing on the current. Pip settled onto her shoulder. "The river welcomes you," Pip said, its voice gentle. "It knows you carry its song." The journey down the Starlight River was a dream woven into reality. Lyra glided effortlessly, the current carrying her deeper into the earth. The air was filled with a soft melodic hum, the river's own song, weaving in and out of the mountain's growing symphony. Luminescent fish, like tiny swimming constellations, darted beneath her lily pad, leaving trails of sparkling light. The crystal formations around them grew more elaborate, some resembling giant frozen waterfalls, others reaching like delicate fingers towards the unseen ceiling. As they floated, Lyra noticed strange, pulsating lights embedded within the riverbed. They were faint at first, then grew brighter, revealing themselves to be more fragments of the mountain's song. The river seemed to gently nudge her lily pad towards them. One by one, Lyra carefully reached into the cool star liquid, retrieving 4 more fragments. Each time a new one joined her collection, a new instrument joined the internal symphony, a flute's clear call, a harp's gentle strum, a violin's soaring melody, a drum's steady beat. With each addition, the fragments in her hand glowed with increasing brilliance, and the mountain's song resonated more powerfully within her, a complete, rich harmony now echoing through her being. 7 notes, Lyra breathed, looking at the glowing pieces in her palm. They pulsed with such warmth and light now, like a miniature galaxy. 7 notes of the mountain's song. Almost complete, Pip corrected, its light a joyful flicker. There is one more, Lyra, the heart note. It waits in the gardens themselves. The starlight river eventually narrowed, flowing into a vast cavernous opening. The lily pad dissolved into shimmering stardust as Lyra stepped onto solid ground once more. This was not the rough earth she had known. The ground here was smooth, polished obsidian, reflecting the ambient light like a still pool. The air was thick with the scent of night-blooming jasmine and something else, something ancient and deeply magical, like starlight itself distilled into perfume. Before her lay a sight that stole her breath, and made her heart swell with a wonder so profound, it brought tears to her eyes. This was the sunken Star Gardens. It was a colossal, bowl-shaped cavern, its floor a verdant landscape unlike anything on the surface world. Instead of sun, the gardens were illuminated by thousands upon thousands of glowing flora. Trees with leaves like spun moonlight, flowers that unfurled petals of captured starlight, and mosses that shimmered with an inner luminescence. The sunken aspect was clear now. It was a deep, ancient crater, perhaps where a celestial body had once fallen, now reclaimed and transformed into a sanctuary of living light. The most striking feature was not the plants, however, but the stars themselves. Embedded within the obsidian ground, scattered amongst the luminous flora, and even hanging like fruit from the branches of the moonleaf trees, were countless small, shimmering orbs. They glowed with an internal light, some pulsating gently, others shining with a steady, serene radiance. They looked like tiny, miniature stars, each one a fragment of the cosmos brought to Earth, nurtured by the magic of this hidden place. In the very center of the gardens, where all paths seemed to converge, stood a singular, colossal tree. Its trunk was not bark, but pure, swirling crystal, pulsing with a soft, pearlescent glow. Its branches reached towards the cavern's unseen ceiling, and from them hung the largest, most vibrant of the garden stars, shimmering with an intense, pure white light. This was the Starheart tree, Lyra realized, the true heart of the sunken star gardens. And she knew with an instinctive certainty that the final fragment of the mountain's song awaited her there. The mountain's song, now a rich, harmonious chorus within her, seemed to guide her steps towards the Starheart tree. The 7 fragments in her hand resonated with it, humming softly, their light dancing in anticipation. Pip, now almost vibrating with excitement, zipped around her, its light a dazzling streak. As Lyra approached the Starheart tree, the ground beneath her feet began to gently hum. The air grew thick with pure magic, a tangible, warm presence that enveloped her. The luminous plants around them seemed to lean in, their lights intensifying, as if witnessing a sacred moment. At the base of the crystal tree, nestled amongst roots that glowed with a deep, sapphire light, lay the 8th and final fragment. It was larger than the others, and its light was not just a glow, but a slow, rhythmic pulse, like a heartbeat. It was the deepest note of the mountain song, the base, the foundation upon which all other melodies rested. Lyra knelt, her heart pounding with a mixture of awe and reverence. As her fingers closed around the final fragment, a powerful surge of energy coursed through her. The 8 fragments in her hand did not just glow, they resonated, vibrating in perfect harmony. They began to lift from her palms slowly, gracefully, hovering in the air before her. Then, before her astonished eyes, they began to merge. Like drops of liquid light, they flowed into one another, swirling and blending, their individual colors and pulses dissolving into a single, breathtaking orb of pure radiant starlight. It wasn't just light. It was a condensed symphony, a physical embodiment of the mountain's complete song. It glowed with all the colors of the rainbow, yet shone with a brilliant unified white light, pulsating with a gentle life-giving rhythm. The heart note, Pip whispered, its own light dimming slightly in reverence. The mountain's lullaby. It is complete, Lyra. The orb of light, the physical manifestation of the mountain's song, drifted gently from Lyra's hands towards the starheart tree. Slowly, majestically, it floated upwards, drawn by an invisible force, until it reached the largest, brightest star hanging from the tree's crystal branches. As the orb touched the star, a wave of pure crystalline energy erupted from the starheart tree. It wasn't an explosion, but a gentle expanding pulse of light and warmth that spread outwards through the entire sunken star gardens. The effect was instantaneous and breathtaking. The luminous plants, which had already been beautiful, burst into an even more vibrant display of color and light. Flowers unfurled new petals, trees shimmered with renewed brilliance, and the air filled with a chorus of soft chiming sounds, as if the gardens themselves were singing in joy. And the stars. Oh, the stars. The thousands of miniature stars embedded in the ground and hanging from the trees began to glow with an intensity Lyra hadn't thought possible. They pulsed and twinkled, not just with light, but with a palpable energy, as if waking from a long slumber. Some of the smallest ones, which had seemed dormant, now flared to life, sending delicate tendrils of light reaching out, intertwining with their neighbors. A new phenomenon began. From the tips of the starheart tree's crystal branches, streams of liquid starlight began to flow, not downwards but upwards, towards the unseen ceiling of the cavern. These streams gathered, coalesced, and then, with a soft pop, condensed into new tiny stars, which then gently drifted downwards, finding their place among the blossoming gardens. The sunken star gardens were not just reawakened, they were reborn, invigorated, their purpose renewed. They were a nursery for fallen stars, a place where cosmic light could be nurtured and sent back out into the world, perhaps to shine in the night sky once more, or to infuse the earth with its gentle magic. Lyra felt the change not just in the gardens, but within herself. The mountain's song, now fully complete and resonating throughout the gardens, filled her with a profound sense of peace and belonging. It wasn't just a song she heard. It was a song she felt, a connection to the very pulse of the world. She understood now. The mountain's song wasn't just a melody. It was the lifeblood of this hidden world, a constant, gentle hum that maintained balance, nurtured growth, and guided lost starlight home. The fragments were its notes, and by gathering them, she had helped to retune the world's greatest lullaby. Pip, its light now a soft, steady glow, flew to Lyra's shoulder and nudged her cheek. "You have done it, Lyra," it chirped, its voice soft with contentment. "You have brought the song home. The gardens sing with joy, and the mountain breathes anew." Lyra reached up, gently stroking Pip's glowing form. "Thank you, Pip," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for guiding me." Pip's light pulsed. "I am but a reflection of the song, Lyra. A small guide for a great heart. My purpose is fulfilled. The starlight is safe, and the mountain sleeps peacefully, knowing its song is sung whole." A warm, gentle breeze, carrying the sweet scent of jasmine and starlight, swept through the gardens. It seemed to whisper a farewell. Lyra felt a subtle shift in the air, a sense of completion. Pip's light began to dim, not fading, but gently diffusing, becoming one with the ambient glow of the gardens. It was as if Pip was merging back into the light from which it came, a guardian spirit returning to its source. With a final loving pulse, Pip's light dissolved completely, leaving Lyra with a feeling of warmth and gratitude, but no sadness. Pip was everywhere now, part of the renewed magic of the gardens. Lyra stood for a long time, simply observing the breathtaking beauty, feeling the gentle rhythm of the revitalized star gardens. The journey had been long, challenging in its own quiet way, but the reward was beyond anything she could have imagined. She hadn't just found fragments of a song, she had helped to restore a vital piece of the world's magic, a hidden heart that beat beneath the earth. A new path, shimmering softly, now appeared, winding its way upwards from the center of the gardens. It wasn't the way she had come, but a gentler, more direct ascent. The mountain's song, still humming within her, now guided her with a sense of quiet homecoming. She walked, feeling lighter than ever, her steps echoing with the renewed rhythm of the earth. The ascent was swift and effortless, the path illuminated by soft, glowing crystals that seemed to anticipate her every step. She passed through layers of earth, each one revealing glimpses of vibrant, thriving life, roots intertwined with luminous veins, underground streams flowing with crystal-clear water, and tiny, sparkling creatures that darted away as she passed, leaving trails of light. Eventually, the path opened into a familiar, cool, night air. Lyra found herself standing at the very base of the Whispering Peaks, not far from where her journey had begun. The sky above was still dark, but it was filled with more stars than she had ever seen, each one twinkling with an extraordinary brilliance. The moonlight, too, seemed softer, more radiant, casting a gentle silver glow over the entire landscape. The world had subtly changed. The air was fresher, the scent of the earth richer. A gentle hum, the distant echo of the mountain's song, seemed to permeate everything, a quiet reassurance that all was well. The magic of the world felt closer, more vibrant, more alive. Lyra looked up at the vast, star-dusted sky, then back at the majestic outline of the Whispering Peaks. The journey was over, but the adventure had truly just begun, for it had awakened something profound within her. She now carried the mountain's song, not just as a memory, but as a part of her own being. She was connected to the deep, silent magic of the world, in a way she never had been before. She walked slowly towards her home, the path illuminated by the newly brilliant stars. The world felt like a softer, kinder place. She knew now that magic wasn't just in grand quests or hidden places. It was in the gentle hum of the earth, in the quiet wisdom of ancient trees, in the comforting glow of a tiny companion, and in the strength of a heart that dared to listen to the whisper of the world. As she finally reached her own small cottage, nestled amongst the sleeping hills, she looked up at the moon one last time. It seemed to wink at her, a silent acknowledgement of her journey. She smiled, a deep, contented smile. She had followed the mountain's song, found the sunken star gardens, and in doing so, had helped to mend a piece of the world's quiet magic. And in return, the world had filled her own heart with a light that would never dim. Tomorrow, the sun would rise, and the world would awaken, bathed in the renewed glow of stars that had been nurtured in the earth's heart. But for tonight, Lyra would sleep, her dreams filled with the gentle hum of the mountain's song, a lullaby for a world made brighter, and a heart made whole. The sunken star gardens slept too, their light a beacon deep within the earth, singing their silent, starlit lullaby to the world above. And Lyra, drifting into dreams, knew that some songs, once heard, stay with you forever, guiding your path, illuminating your way, and reminding you that even in the deepest shadows, there is always a star waiting to bloom. Good night, Lyra. Good night, bright star.